Now, this car, despite all the other problems I've got with it,
hasn't got up to temperature since I rebuilt the head, and that is down to
something hidden down there that is also known as the thermostat.
Now, the role of the thermostat is to control the flow of hot water through the radiator, and the thermostat is integrated and mounted on the engine block, adjusting the coolant flow towards the radiator.
I had this car off the road for about 5 months last year. This meant that the thermostat got stuck open. Now the car doesn't get up to temperature.
So let's go ahead and jack the car up so we can start working on changing the thermostat. As you can see, I'm making myself look stupid here, double checking that it's on the jacking point, which it wasn't. So now we can go ahead and lower that side down and get the other side jacked up, ready to do exactly the same thing. However, I didn't make myself look stupid this time.
So the amount of issues this car has been throwing up recently, if you watched my previous video you would have seen, but I'll put all the codes up on the screen now. Yeah.
Tidin, problem engine kaput.
I've got a long list in my notes of things to look through. Over the next coming weeks on the channel, you're going to see a lot of videos of me fixing this car, because ever since rebuilding the head and getting that fixed, the car just doesn't like me at all. But let's focus on the problem at hand and get this thermostat changed, swapped out, and a nice new one put in.
So first, I'm going to start by removing the air filter on the induction kit. There's 2 Jubilee clips, so let's get both of these removed so we can slide the silicone pipe out of the heat shield.
So the first step is going to be removing this intake pipe. There's a screw there, another screw on a bracket down there. We've got this Jubilee clip here, and then there's another Jubilee clip. I need to remove that Jubilee clip there, and then we can get this intake pipe off.
So we've got one T30 holding the charge pipe to the engine block.
So the next one that we have to get undone is that one there, and that's the next bracket for that charge pipe.
And the other one, as you will see, is even higher above this with coolant pipes in the way, which, don't get me wrong, it is a nightmare to remove.
I actually went ahead and got the intake manifold out, and I also had to take the map sensor out of the intake pipe from the screws, purely because these sensors, the Volkswagen sensors, as you guys probably know, are an absolute nightmare. But let's get the intake pipe disconnected down the bottom. We've got both the brackets loosened now, so let's get that Jubilee clip off and then get the pipe removed from the car. Now we just have to get this horrible intake pipe off the throttle body. I'd be very tempted to take it off there, but I have a feeling the thermostat is going to be literally right behind this. So I am going to take it off of the throttle body. Can't even see the thermostat yet. But let's get on with that. Do our best to get that pipe off, because this is a nightmare. The amount of times I've had to do this, not pleasant.
Now, if you asked me how to get a throttle body pipe off, I would not recommend using a screwdriver. However, I have honestly found that this has worked the best for me. As long as you're careful and you don't end up piercing or slitting the pipe, then it works.
Wow. And to my surprise, that actually came off really easy. I did use a screwdriver to get in there. Let's see if we can put that through the bottom or the top. So there's a lot more space down the bottom. There's one intake pipe out of the car. I'm going to put the map sensor back in. It's always a nightmare taking this intake pipe off, because that map sensor is just in the most impossible location to get the clip undone. Just to list a few of the issues that we've got with this car and what to expect in up and coming videos. So we've got the thermostat today. There's an oil leak in there coming from the vacuum pump. There's an oil leak on the back of the turbo, which is what that massive pile's from. We've had a crankshaft position sensor code, even though I've changed this sensor, the camshaft sensor, and the crankshaft position sensor down in there. We're losing coolant, but I think that leak is becoming apparent because taking that pipe off, I have been seeing coolant down there. So maybe it's the thermostat housing, possibly. Now I've started the job, I'm going to do it all properly, take everything off I need to, and possibly have it off the road for a few months, because maybe not months, hopefully weeks. But currently, I mean, you've heard the car misfire, now it's in limp mode with all the codes that came up. So yeah, bear with, there's going to be quite a few videos coming of me fixing this car, but if you are enjoying the content, be sure, like, comment, subscribe, and come along for the journey, because it's been a long one already, 5-6 months in the making so far, so I'm sure we'll be able to get the car running back sweet. I'm trying to get it ready for summer. That's my main focus right now. So I think I've come to the conclusion that we're going to take the intake manifold off as well, because there's a sensor right in there which this needs to come off to change anyway, and the thermostat is literally there, is completely underneath this. So I think one of the only ways I'm going to actually be able to get to it comfortably is by taking this out, plus I can then change that sensor. And the intake manifold might be dodgy. It's a cheap Chinese one. It was one of the only ones that I could find, and sometimes when I do that it sounds almost corrugated.
So first of all, I'm starting off by disconnecting all the supporting lines for the fuel, vacuum and electrical connectors, and then I'm cracking the 9 intake manifold bolts. I go through and crack them all first, so that later on I can then go and remove them completely. But I just wanted to be sure and double check that all the lines are disconnected before we actually go ahead and remove the intake manifold. Once you've got all the bolts out, there's a fuel injector harness which is plugged into each of the 4 injectors which we need to release. These are just the standard Volkswagen Audi group connectors, the absolutely annoying things, but we managed to get them all disconnected, and the last connector to disconnect was the fuel rail pressure sensor, which I did actually end up cutting off because I could not get this out, and I thought it would be a good idea to replace it because it was a little bit damaged from the last time when I took this out.
So I've managed to get the intake manifold off. The last connector is this one, but it is not coming off. And it's in a position where it's so hard to get to. I managed to get all the fuel injectors out and unplugged. To get the screwdriver in there enough to disconnect it, but we're making progress, so let's carry on. I'm gonna keep struggling with this connector and then I'll get back to you once that connector is disconnected. The intake manifold is now off and we've uncovered a few things. So I noticed some oil on injector 1 and injector 4, and I mean even there's oil, and when I put the intake manifold back on I didn't replace the injector seals, and as you can see there's oil. There's quite a lot of oil in that one. It's got a new timing chain on, and I also didn't replace the water pump when I did the timing chain. So I think the best way moving forward is going to be new water pump and thermostat. Replace that all at the same time. As I've got it all off now, this is kind of what I wanted. I kind of wanted to just go back to bare bones, and so it's a lot easier to do the jobs and do it properly. So I reckon we get a new thermostat and water pump. That coolant leak I was mentioning is there, and that looks like it's coming from this unit. So moving forwards, get a new one of them, replace thermostat, water pump, new injector seals, and either get these injectors cleaned or get some new injectors, possibly even some bigger ones, and get them coded in, because who doesn't want more power?
but it's going to be a long old process, so stay tuned.
We got the radiator hose off. It's just draining down there. And once we've got that out, we're going to look at getting the water pump and thermostat removed from the car. We've got the two coolant pipes off that run from the thermostat housing. They're in the boot of the car.
We've also drained all the coolant, as you would have seen. I'm absolutely knackered. It's Saturday today, so we've got a video going out tomorrow.
And now, let's remove some of these bolts. I don't actually know which ones are going to be the housing bolts. I also don't know if the housing's going to come up with it. Try a couple and see what happens.
I will say one thing about my artillery of tools. This tiny little ratchet has saved me in times when I didn't know I needed it the most. It's so small and nimble, it lets you get into any space you want pretty much. So you will be seeing it a lot on this channel. Going back to talking about the injectors, I am indeed upgrading the injectors and the fuel pump internals. So stay tuned and be ready for that to come in a new video. If you are enjoying this content, please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss another weekly upload.
These three, one's come out of there, one's come out of there, and one's come out of there. Those two long ones came out of there and there. Just trying to figure out what else is actually, I can see that the oil cooler is connected. The water pump and thermostat housing loose takes three big ones and three smaller ones. The three big ones is that one, and that one, I think. Yeah, and then the three smaller ones is that one, there's one under there, and that one. So let's get that removed. It is attached to the oil cooler. I don't think that's an issue. There's also a massive puddle of coolant down there. But let's get that off and see what we are dealing with.
So let's have a go and get this water pump and thermostat housing off. I haven't watched any videos on how to get this off, so this is going in completely blind, but I guess we'll see what happens. You don't learn if you don't try, eh? So far the job's going well, and I'm happy with how much progress we're making and how much I'm learning about my car by working on it myself. If you guys work on your cars yourself, let me know in the comments down below what jobs you're thinking of doing, what upgrades you're planning, how much power you're running, etc, etc. Tell me all about your cars, I want to know. Let's build this channel up and have a community behind us and work on our cars as a team. And who knows the levels we could reach.
That might be what. That's the water pump housing. Let's get get it out. One water pump removed. On the thermostat, there's all this white stuff, which says to me that that has been leaking, because before, I know, call me out on it, but I did put rad weld in this because there was a coolant leak on the back of the turbo, but that will be fixed. We'll fix that.
So I just want to take a minute to thank each and every one of you that's been showing the channel support over the past few weeks. We've got a lot of videos planned, and Easter and summer is going to be insane. The amount of videos that we're going to pump out, we've got a couple of features on the channel, we've got even more modifications, we're going for big power, and to finally get the car back running sweet.
So it's a Thursday, and I've I've just finished work, but I managed to get the injectors out. The reason for this is we are indeed going for bigger injectors. And look at the state of them. They are caked. Some of the holes are clogged, and rather than getting these cleaned, I thought, well, if I'm getting bigger injectors in the future anyway, I'm going to get some bigger injectors. So expect a video coming on bigger injectors and Viz high pressure fuel pump internals. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you liked today's video. I will see you next Sunday at 6 PM for the next upload. We will most likely still be fixing the car. So yeah, let's see how we get on, and I will see you in the next one.